Hello, we are back. So you can see I definitely added some more black on my bird there, and I went ahead and did a little bit more stitching in this area just so I can hopefully illustrate some things later. So okay, so for the bird, so one thing I wanted to show you all, so obviously once we put this felt down, we can no longer see the guidelines of where the patches are on the wing. So what you can do is, use your like the pictures you have in the instructions, and I'm using the actual hoop obviously, but try to measure where it goes based on other things in the design. So I looked at, the top of this stick like here, and so did the same thing here. So I made a little mark with a Sharpie and only stitched to that point. So then for the bottom of the patch, I didn't end up coming up with anything really. It's like above where that claw hits the stick here. So let's see. So the claw hits the stick here. So we know it's going to be above this point. So I have a little bit of a Sharpie that I've gotten in there. So no lower than that is what I would say. And then like from side to side, again, I think that's kind of tricky, but we'll just say it's something like that shape. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect. So, all right, so should we do the gray first? I'm like a little nervous. I don't know why. Okay. So with the gray, we're going to add some details. And so how far is the beak? Let me look at my reference again. How far is the beak? When I was working on this, I was referencing photos of these birds. So let's see, maybe I'll come like this. Basically, you're making like two triangles. So I'm doing the top triangle now. So I'm going to kind of fill it in. And you know what? You don't have to do this. If you don't want to do any of the gray stitching on the birds, it's still going to look great. So if this is just like, yeah, no, I don't want to improvise all that, then don't. Okay, that's supposed to be my top piece, although I didn't fill it in all the way. That's okay. So then my bottom, that's the bottom of the bottom triangle, which doesn't look right either. I feel like stitch here. It's definitely some just figuring it out as I go. So, I don't know, I might just leave it like that. Or maybe I'll do another stitch right here. Something like that. Like, I'm pretty sure that looks way different than the sample hoop, and that is going to be okay with me right now. So then for the eye, let's see, it's like definitely not any lower than the beak, right? Let's see, the bottom part of the eye is going to be like around here. So I'm going to do a stitch like so, and a stitch over here. So with these tiny little stitches, they're very tiny and they can be hard to see and hard to remove. So one thing I did is, if I do all this and decide, I really don't like the gray in this particular spot right here, I actually went over it with black rather than trying to pick out the stitch. I just covered it with more stitches to erase it. Okay, something like this. Oh, that looks weird a little bit. Let's see. It's looking okay, I think. Probably another stitch down here. So basically like outlining the eye. I used, for my sample hoop, I used this gray for kind of the bottom half of the eye. And then the top here, I switched to that kind of light blue gray that we used to fill this. So if you want to use that color for the brighter highlight, you should definitely do it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I'll probably come in and, you know, try to sculpt it more with some black, like I said, because I feel like maybe I could hide here a little bit and kind of come in a little bit this way, and it'll look a little better. So right now it looks kind of sad. Just a little sad. Okay. So what am I doing? All right, so I have the gray still. So if you want, you can add a little bit of highlights on this side. And then you can see on the claws, I added some highlights too. Kind of up to you where you want to put all those, how many you want to do. So when you add the highlights, you just do it right on top of the black, like so. It's a straight stitch, but I'm doing it in 2 split stitches, so I don't know what you want to call it. If you want to call it a bunch of straight stitches or a bunch of split stitches. So that's kind of all I have to say about that right now. So I'm going to stop. I'm actually going to come up with my needle here because we're going to use that again. Okay, so when we do the patch, I'm going to start with the red, and I'm going to start kind of in the middle of the patch. If you would like, you could always kind of outline the shape that you're going to fill first, like a padded satin stitch, just to kind of help you know where on earth you're going. I'm going to just live dangerously and just start throwing stitches down and see what happens. I have my cat, well, I have 2 cats next to me right now in the windowsill. And one of them, poor thing, is struggling with allergies, and she's asleep right now. And, but I keep hearing her little snorkel noises because she's a little bit congested. But she's really happy. Alright, I'm going to look back at my reference and see if I'm anywhere near what I'm planning to do. Probably a little long there, but that's okay. Let's start making this a little bit smaller. Oops. That's not next to those. I definitely ended up doing like some layers of satin stitch to get the shape right, or how I wanted it in my sample hoop, which I'm definitely doing now as well. I feel like this needs to be a bit softer. No, I'm trying to hide this little hole and it's not working. You could also use split stitch for these patches if you don't want to use satin. I'm not super worried about building up a bunch of bulk here, right? Because, well, we want it to be bulky here. Okay, that's driving me crazy. I'm going to move on to the left and come back. See if I can get that right. So if you do the outline, like I mentioned, you'll probably avoid whatever this is that I'm doing. Having to go back and back and back and fiddle and fiddle and fiddle. Okay, I need this to get longer. Oops. Oh gosh. What have I done? Oh, and my needle. Oh, there's the needle. Okay. That was clumsy of me. Okay, back in action. This should definitely be over more before we start going down, I think. And now this is really bugging me again. Let's see. Will that work? It's a little better. I keep thinking I'm like, oh, this is definitely going to fill in the spot. And then when I actually lay the thread down, it's like, oh, that was definitely not high enough. Same over here. I definitely need to come over here more. Okay, something like this. Again, I'm doing this kind of like figure it out as I go method, which is not the prettiest. If you do that outline like I mentioned, you're probably gonna have a better time. Okay, definitely want to fill in this little piece. Something like that. I think that's, it definitely doesn't look just like my other one, but I'm okay with it. I'm wondering if it even needed to be a little bit higher. All right, so I will definitely recommend that you all do the outline first so that you don't end up like me. Okay, I'm gonna call that good, and then I'm gonna take the yellow and just along the edges there's just like a little stripe of yellow here. All right, I don't have a huge amount of thread, but I think I will take my own advice and kind of outline my desired edge here. Something like that. Then when we come in here and start filling this, I know to start on the edge of this line, and I know I'm going to go right to where that red is here. So I'm going right to the edge. However, you might want to actually kind of split some of that red, so we don't really want like a bump in between the two. If you have one, I think it's fine as well, but I want it to look like one piece, right? Without that little bump. Oh man, I feel like I'm really not doing well. My cat is snoring. I'm definitely splitting way too far into that red patch. Oh my word. It's like I can't help myself now because I want to follow along that. Okay, I am out of yellow. So I feel like this is like way too thick. There's definitely more work to do here. So the yellow would come all the way up and all the way down here. And I think it'll look okay. One thing, you can also go back in if you have a little bit of this happening with more red. When I did the sample hoop, I definitely had a lot of back and forth here. You can't tell so much now, but it's full of stitches. So do what works best for you. If you need to just skip the red wing on this one, do it. Just have it be a blackbird. It's okay. I won't tell anyone. Or if you just want to do the red and not the yellow, I think that would be a good way to do something in between. And when you do the patch, do those measurements and mark it with a Sharpie or whatever you need to mark it with and make that outline. That will make your life a lot easier. All right. Now what? So we've done, for the background, we did the mountain, the hills, and then the background forest. And now I think we do these trees here. Yes, we do. Okay, so we're going to fill them with detached chain stitches. Let me make sure I grab the correct colors. Okay, here is the 580, and then this is the 936. All right. So to fill these, let me make sure my camera is good. Okay, to fill these guys, I fill with a bunch of detached chain stitches. So we want the detached chain stitches pointed so that the pointy end is out. So I'm going to come up, go back down in the same hole, I make a loop, catch that loop here, like so, tack it down, and I continue doing this. I think the diagram and the instructions is pretty self-explanatory. All of these are going to be pointing up and away like branches. It helps to do the stitches on the outside first. So however many fit in there. And then on the other side, I'm going to use this slightly darker color. feel like I'm kind of under exaggerating these shapes, so I'm going to kind of go way outside the line on this one. Oh, hey, Biscuit. Oh, all the kitties are here now. You want up here too? I'm going to have to give you a boost, buddy. All right, I gotta help the cat. Oops. All right, crisis averted. All the cats are in the windowsill. And no one is fighting. So when you have the overlapping trees, it's up to you if you want to do the one in front first or the one in back first. Just make sure you're overlapping the forest, background forest you've already stitched. I'm making this like way too neat. My sample, but they were definitely more wild, I guess. All right, so here I am, back with the lighter color. I'm gonna go ahead and start filling in another row here. More of these teeny tiny detached chain stitches. And the ones in the center, like the closer you get to center, the less of an angle, I guess, is what you're gonna have. So, I have a pencil here. So, obviously the one down the very center is up like this. When you go down the sides, you can do something like that, right? Angle them. And all the ones down the center, though, are pretty much going to be straight up, and then the ones kind of in between are kind of an in-between angle. Or not. Or just fill the shape. We're just getting a little texture out here so that these little trees are in front of that background forest. Maybe one more over here. And then back to this darker green. This reminds me of an artichoke. Excellent. So that's that. And then I did a little bit of straight stitches to add even more of a highlight. And actually, you know what we're going to do? Because this is weird. This here, I'm going to fill it in with split stitch. I guess it looks kind of like it's where the grass should be. And you could also just do the grass there, but since I'm here, I'm going to just fill it in with this darker color, which will blend with the forest in the background. Okay, so I have this light color single strand. I'm going to use it to add just some highlights, straight stitches. Add as many ears view as you like. Just adds a little bit more detail back there and helps these trees stand out in front of the background so you can see. That's why I kind of filled this in to demonstrate that this color is a lot lighter, and so it just adds a little bit of brightness to help. Oops, oh my. To help these trees stand out from those trees way in the distance where needed. Yeah, and then on the right side, I switched to the same color I used on the left, but a single strand, which I don't have ready to go. So you can add those on the right side to finish up those trees. Yay! Okay. Alright, so next is the short grass, which I definitely forgot to prep thread for. It's just more long and short stitch, so basically what we did here, but we're going to do it to fill in this space here, and it's using a single strand of thread, and you can look in the instructions. Here's the colors, starting with this one in the background. Most of the grass is this middle color, and then at the end add some of the 904, which will kind of show up behind the tall grass to help the tall grass stand out in front of the short grass. Okay, so I'm going to move to the tall grass now, but definitely fill that in before you do the tall grass on this side. I'm going to work over here just so I can more easily show and explain details once we get to that. So for the tall grass, we use 2 strands, and it's 2 colors. I guess I should pull this back. So right now I am starting with the 3347 and the 936 on my needle. So 2 colors, 1 needle, for a total of 2 strands. So where should I be? I'll start over here. Not a good start. I just made teeny tiny knots. All right. So for this first color, I definitely need coverage, but you can already start thinking about it getting messy, because this is going to be like a messy long and short stitch, right? And to me that means the angle of the stitches are kind of weird, and the lengths of the stitches are kind of weird. Alright, so that's that little slice. And then I definitely want to go over here just so I can show you more examples of this. So this will be here. I'm going to just stitch over the top of the stem for this demonstration, but you may actually want to do the top part of the stems after all this. I don't know. I feel like it's pretty easy to like stitch around the whipped back stitch and the tricky work, obviously, but the those stems are potentially going to get covered, the top stems of the cattails, so it's okay to cover them, and then when we come back and do details, we can add them back in. So alright, and then I don't know, I still have more thread here, so I'll just go here. Alright, so next we're gonna move to the next thread combo, which I have, nope, that's the top one. Here's the middle one. Oops, oh jeez. I started running out of needles. Getting all these needles prepped. Alright, so this is the 337 and the 58 something or other. So I'm going to pierce through this first row. And come up. I'm going to work around the top of this leaf that in theory we've already filled in. I feel like I'm being like not messy at all with this, so I'm gonna add like a weird one over there, and something comes like way up here. It still doesn't look very weird. Alright, it's alright, I'll keep going. So here in this section, Murph is really snoring now. Okay, something like this. Well, okay, that one's really wild. But I think I needed it. It's okay for them to be like that, right? It's this really long grass and sometimes it falls over. Okay, so then my last color combo, I am ready with these two. So here we definitely have overlap. I've got that background forest back there. We definitely want to cover some of it so that our eyes see this grass as in front of that grass. Seems pretty covered. Yeah. Get over here. So make sure you're staying behind the bird, behind the cattails, but in front of that background forest. Okay, I feel like I left some holes over there. And I feel like I did this way more smooth, so I'm going to add like some surprise stitches way down here, just to add more weirdness, more messiness. Okay, now what? Let's see, we did the long grass. Are we at our... Oh yeah, we are now at the final stage. So you may need to help something stick out more, right? So there's a couple different ways we can do that. We can do it with like texture and volume, and or you can use color differences to kind of help things have more contrast. So I will start here. So I want to start with these leaves. You can see I filled this one in more, and I left this one open. So you may find that you prefer stitching all these leaves later, like now, or do something in the middle. So here we can see what it looks like when I did this first. And I did not go back in and like define any of this. So here I'm just going to fill in this leaf just so you can see the difference, if there even is a difference. I don't know, maybe you try it both ways and see which one you like better. Other places where you might want to come in with more split stitch would be for the smaller blackbird, since its wings, you know, are spread out over a lot of different textures. You might want to come back in with the black thread and kind of define it more. So far, I feel like this shape of the leaf I'm doing right now doesn't look as great as when I outline the shapes ahead of time, ahead of doing the background. That just might be how it looks when I do it. You may have a better time of it, but it's not too hard to fix. So when you find a place that's a little bit wonky, like right here, I'm gonna come in and just add another stitch to kind of help smooth this out. So I don't know, I'm not sure if one in the end looks better than the other. It may just be like what's easier to do. Okay, so let's say I do feel like this leaf is kind of sinking a little bit into the forest. This would be where you could come in. I'm just using that same green and adding just another outline essentially, just to give it a little bit more bulk. Totally optional. If you don't want to do this, you definitely don't have to. And in fact, we're gonna do some other stuff that will probably help it even more without coming in kind of retracing everything with the same color. So I'm gonna stop there. Well, that was a weird stitch. And I'm gonna move on to the other little details. So here is that single strand of the dark gray. So with this, I did a shadow using split stitch on the right side of all of my sticks and all of my cattail stems. Just kind of tucked it in like that, real close to that edge. And that is going to help make this stick more three-dimensional. And it also helps when the stick is overlapping things and we have this kind of consistent dark line that follows it down, making it look a little bit more 3D. While I have this gray, another place you can put it would be at the bottom of these back forest trees. So you can just add like little stitches here at the bottom, and that's gonna help the tall grass that's in front of it pop out more. So this is adding that little extra shadow. Helps your eyes see that difference. Made a difference, huh? And also back here, it's good, especially behind these trees. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Oh, you can see what I'm doing. I'm just at the edge of the camera. So just add a little bit where needed, if needed. Oh, and that reminds me, so for the the tall grass on the right side, as it kind of goes this way, it gets smaller and smaller in the back. So you can drop to fewer strands of thread and just stick to the darkest color, the 936, and I think it's like the medium, the 581 for the tops, just to give it a little bit of a highlight. Yeah, okay, so that's the gray. And then next I think we do the green shadows, if I am not mistaken. And where is that? Oh, I see. Alright, so here's this dark green, and I'm going to add it on the right side of my leaves. This will help those leaves kind of have a more defined edge. And again, it will help them just stick out in front of the busyness behind. And it's up to you if you want to actually outline the whole left side, or if you just want to add the shadow in the places you think it needs it. So this leaf that I'm working on right now, it's going behind this taller leaf. So at this point, what I will do is actually even add some extra stitches using this slightly darker green, where this leaf goes under the other leaf. Again, just basically what we just did with the gray for the background forest. It's definitely more subtle, which is by design. So then this one will have the darker green as well on the right. They'll all be on the right. Etc. And then we're going to do the same thing, but on the other side with this green, 3347. So I'll be on the left sides. So I will show on the big one first, because the big one is overlapping the small one. So I'm going to outline the big one where that is happening. And if you want, you could even add a little bit more of this color in sections like here where it's overlapping a leaf behind it. So I'm just adding a little bit extra. And continuing on my way with that highlight on the left side. And again, you do not have to highlight any of them. You don't have to highlight the entirety of them. But this is just another way to add more detail to some of these elements in the front to help them stand out more. Okay, and then, see, I know we have gray again. So another thing we do with the gray is to add a little bit of shadow along the edge where the tall grass is, which it's pretty easy. So I just did like a horizontal split, or back split in my case. You can just keep it at that if you want. So any place, like here's another place where we have grass, you can see. If you want to add like more dimension, you can even kind of add a couple of dark like strands in here, and that can add a little bit more interest and more detail. Like so. Okay, I think we're almost done. I'm excited. All right, so the last thing, unless I don't know how to follow my own instructions, which is possible, I just have a single strand of the super duper light green yellow color, and I just came in here on top of all of this, so just add a little bit more. It's really tall, which is fine. A little bit extra. That's pretty much it. Just making all that grass in the background. Okay, I think I'm done. If you have any questions, as always, please send me an email. I'm happy to help. And remember, this is not an easy project, so take your time and have fun, most importantly. All right, see you next time.